Captain Forest here, and in today's video I'm going to be going over both these combatants to see who would win more often than not in a inverse situation. God Shazam versus Hawkgirl. Now if you guys are new to my channel, please leave a like, comment down below, and of course subscribe for further content. Also, massive shout outs to the HQ squad, shout outs to the team, much appreciated to them. They also help me in my videos, so massive shout outs to the team. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into this awesome inverse matchup. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Hawkgirl, and then after I'm done with Hawkgirl, I'm going to go ahead and talk about God Shazam, specifically this version, and then I'm going to give my final analysis on who I think wins more often than not in an inverse situation. So Hawkgirl demonstrated a feat where she was able to block the energy from the doorknob from Lex Luthor, who was inside his suit, and she was able to clap him with her nymph metal mace. For those who aren't aware, the doorknob contains the piece of Perpetua's power. This occurred during the time Hawkgirl was empowered with the power which was used to create the Source Wall. A noteworthy statement from Starman was when he explained that it was the totality that broke the chain of reincarnation, and Starman further goes on to explain that Perpetua did this because she was afraid of having to fight with Hawkgirl at her best. Hawkgirl is finally ready to fulfill her cosmic destiny. She goes on to do battle with Apex Luthor and physically hurt Apex with her mace, and also hurts him again when she empowers herself with her wings. She also lost to Apex, but she lost via being off guard, so this isn't a bad feat for her. Of course, Apex had to get the drop on her, unfortunately, but literally during the entire fight, Apex was getting the stepmom treatment, the abusive right hand of Hawkgirl pretty much, and the mace to the face. So that's still a good feat. Still some good scaling for Hawkgirl. Also, another thing I wanted to mention as well for you guys to keep in mind, the energy from her wings were also needed to amp the Ultra Monitor, so they could even have a chance to even fight Perpetua when she had 5 out of the 6 energies of the Dark Forces, which is not a bad feat at all. Another tremendous feat for Hawkgirl was when she was weakened. Literally, Hawkgirl was literally no longer empowered by any of that stuff, so we literally see her being able to block an attack from the anti-life equation and anti-monitor, of course. With just her wings alone, her nymph metal wings were able to tank this attack from life equation anti-monitor. Very impressive. So pretty much nymph metal is pretty powerful, you shouldn't sleep on it. She's easily creation level with those feats and the mace as well, so some pretty good scaling. Now for speed, she should easily scale to the Justice League and Apex in combat reaction speed. Now this very same Apex is able to keep up with the Justice League members. Now lastly, Hawkgirl was able to damage Empty Hand with her mace. This very same Empty Hand was also amped by the Great Darkness's chains. So that's another great feat for her as well, that the nymph metal also was able to accomplish during that fight. So again, it's just some really good scaling overall. But yes, I'm going to go ahead and move on, talk a little bit about nymph metal. So in order for you guys to understand Hawkgirl a little bit better as well, I must talk about the material known as nymph metal. Nymph metal varies, but it contains properties and effects which aid the user depending on how the nymph metal is utilized. Now nymph metal gives the user an accelerated healing factor, it gives them flight if they have nymph metal wings, it gives them strength, durability, enhanced senses, it grants self-sustenance, and obviously depending if the user has absorbed nymph metal inside their body, it allows them to survive in harsh environments like cold or hot places and the vacuum of space. It also has gravity negation to some extent, allowing the wearer to carry weight that are 20 to 70 times heavier than normal. It also grants the user Type 4 immortality and reincarnation, pretty much, which basically is the main reason why Hawkgirl and Hawkman always reincarnate when they die, and they pretty much resurrect at some point in time. When they reincarnate, they retain all their past knowledge and memories, so that's another cool thing as well. Nymph metal is also very fundamental. It can negate durability, kind of works like adamantium, and it is also shown to nullify and absorb magic, such as the time Black Adam's lightning was being absorbed by Hawkman's nymph metal mace, and weapons forged in nymph metal can be controlled by the user. They can pretty much recall their weapons or control where the mace goes and the trajectory used in that manner. So there's some really good aspects and some really good cool things with nymph metal. Nymph metal can also affect things on a spiritual level as well. Like Batman has used nymph metal batarangs as well to slice up spiritual entities. So there's some spiritual properties also behind nymph metal, which is pretty cool. Nymph metal is pretty much adamantium on crack, in my opinion. It's a crazy metal. So that's going to round up Hawkgirl. I'm going to go ahead and move on to God Shazam and talk about a bit of his scaling. Shazam himself gained this power of multiple new gods who reside in the source. Each pantheon comes with unique powers that are bestowed upon to Billy Batson, such as Shiva, who grants Shazam the power of strength from an old god called Urgund. 8, the goddess of impulse, who gives Shazam his bravery, instincts and impulse to aid him in combat. Shazam goes on to defeat Yuga Khan, who was amped by the power of Shazam, and it was stated that Yuga Khan was going to punch a hole in the source. So right there and there, we have some really good source scaling to some degree. Of course, downscaling, he wouldn't scale to the whole thing, but some really insane scaling for God Shazam. Very impressive. Okay, so that's going to round up both these combatants. I'm going to go ahead and give my thoughts on who I think wins more often than not in an inverse situation. Now this matchup's pretty interesting, now based off inverse scaling. However, when it comes to like just the general feats and whatever versions you use of these characters, obviously the scaling does differ. Now when we look at Hawkgirl's stats, of course, especially the version where she had like the energies of the source wall, like easily that version is just vastly above God Shazam, very easily. Unfortunately, the scaling just isn't there for God Shazam. It's very impressive that, he was able to beat up Yuga Khan, who was going to literally put a hole in the source. So that'd easily be like, at least like creation level, but I would say based off more quantifiable feats and just, higher inverse scaling. And what's more impressive is just Hawkgirl having the source wall energy, and that's just literally just vastly above just the feats that God Shazam has. Unfortunately, it's just lacking in that department. Now, even if we don't include the source wall amp and we just stick with like standard Hawkgirl, I think standard Hawkgirl would have the edge in AP regardless. We literally see a weakened Hawkgirl who didn't have the power anymore. She literally used her wings to literally block an attack from literally the anti-monitor with the anti-life equation, and that feat alone like speaks volumes. And this was a weakened Hawkgirl, so that's easily like high creation level, very easily, very good scaling for Hawkgirl. Now even in this fight, wing cons, it is possible that God Shazam could take victory if he's able to hit her with the conceptual lightning. However, the issue here is the nymph metal. The nymph metal is just far too fundamental. It's no stranger to dealing with magical conceptual properties. In fact, that thing literally works like a lightning rod. So if Shazam uses any of his Shazam lightning, like literally the nymph metal mace, the wings, it would just absorb that. And in fact, that was just to empower the nymph metal mace. Hawkgirl's just going to go in and swat Billy over the face. Going to swat Shazam in the face and one-shot him with a nice nymph metal, like smack to the face. Of course, nymph metal has durability negation, so he could literally just slice through Shazam as well. That's also another option. Now yes, Shazam does have other options too, like his pantheons, his new pantheons could help him. However, I don't really see it going to be very useful, especially with Hawkgirl having the advantage in AP, especially durability, the wings, the nymph metal, the counters, the resistances. It just completely nullifies and makes a lot of Shazam's like gameplay and a lot of his planning and hexes and win cons very counterintuitive and not very useful. So more often than not, I have to give victory to Hawkgirl. The nymph metal is just going to neutralize a lot of his win cons, and it just takes one nymph metal mace to the face, and that's just going to be it for pretty much Shazam. But yes, thank you guys for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give me your thoughts. But yes, it's been real. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.